Once again, welcome to MS Visio Overview. Let me just give you the objective for today. So basically, you're going to learn to identify the basic elements of Visio and their use. You're going to learn to utilize connectors, create a basic diagram, and design an office layout. So about four different topics we're going to go through. First one is going to take most of the time. I just want to start with the basic elements of Visio. So if I move forward one more slide over here. By the way, this presentation is going to be available to you on Transit University. So let's get started with looking at the basic elements of Microsoft Visio. So we're going to start talking about shapes, which is the main element you're going to be using to create your documents. And then I'm going to say that these shapes are usually grouped into some categories that they call stencils. All right. So let me just get started over here with my application. So let me also say that Visio, of course, is not an application that comes with Microsoft Office 365. So if you do want to get the application, if you have a business need for it, or if your manager approved the request for the software, then you have to open a ticket with ServiceNow. So you know how whichever way you get there. I like to go to MTA today, and then right here from the departments, I go to IT, MTA IT, and once I get there, you have the ServiceNow option over here. So if you go on ServiceNow, you're going to request software, so you have to go with submitting a request. And after that, you're going to have some options over here. Of course, you're going to be looking for the desktop and laptop computing. Let me open this up. And right here, you're going to have the hardware and the software option. So if you go to software, Visio is one of those applications that you have to request because once again, it doesn't come with Office 365. So it's the same case for Microsoft Project. So if you click here, you fill in the form, it will get routed to your manager. And then if your manager approves that, then you can open a ticket with MTA IT. They will come and load the software on your computer. Of course, there is a price for the license, so it's going to be about $300. So once again, you go to MPA IT ServiceNow, and then you can have the you can request to have the software. If you get approved, then you're going to be able to use Microsoft Visio on your computer. All right. So if you're just joining right now, so we're just starting with the first objective, and I'm going to show you the basic elements that you're going to use on a Visio document. So when the application opens, similarly to any other Office application, of course, you have the home button over here. You have the new icon. You can go and start creating a new document from here. Of course, you can also go to open, and if you go to open, then you can browse the different locations where you can save files on your computer, whether you are using OneDrive or you save files on your computer. So you make that selection, open up your file. You're also going to have a list of the most recent files that you have worked with on that version of Visio on your computer. What I like to do here is I like to go over to the new option, and let me show you around over here because the use of templates is really useful in Microsoft Visio. I know we have templates in Office, we have templates in Word, Excel, so on. I don't know how much you use them, but using templates will be really useful when you are creating your first documents with Visio. So once you go to new, you're going to see some featured templates over here, okay? And you're going to see many more down here at the bottom. So you can just browse by the different templates, or if you want to go into the next section over here, the templates category, if you go there, then all these templates are going to be placed inside different categories. So If you want to create a document that somehow relates to education, you open up the education category, and then you're going to see all the different templates that relate to education. I should probably show you rather the, let's say, the engineering. May probably some of you may be interested on the templates that you see out of this category. So you can always go back here and pick a different category. So I like to start with, let me see, let's go over to the map and floor plans. So this is one of the exercises we're going to do today. So on the objective, I told you, I'm going to show you how to create an office layout. So let me pick this template over here. So you get an idea of what is it that you get out of this template. So let me just go and pick the office layout. And before you click on create, you have to make a decision over here whether you want to use the metric system or the US unit. So, you can use inches, feet, and so on. So I'm going to stick with the US units and just simply click on create. And now the template is going to open up, and basically, what it is just a document with some options that allows you to create a document. I picked the office layout, so you're going to have some tools over here that will let you easily create an office layout. So the first window that I want to describe over here is the so-called shapes window. So the shapes window is going to show on the left side, and on this window, you're going to have a group of different categories, or stencils is actually what they call. So stencils is just groups of different shapes. These are the shapes. And then, of course, I was saying before, shapes are going to be like the main element you're going to use on your documents. So if it is that I want to do, I want to create an office layout right here under this stencil, the walls, doors, and windows, I'm going to start with the space shape. Okay. And all you need to do here is just identify the shape you want to use. And then, of course, you're going to drag and drop right here onto your document. So depending on the shape that you're using, of course, you're going to see different options. So right here with the space, what the space is telling me right here is that I have space to create my office layout, and initially they give me a space of 100 square feet. So that will be, of course, 10 by 10. Looks like a very square space over here. So then that will be the first shape that I will use. Okay, we're gonna get back to this template later. So right now I'm just showing you around how is it that you're gonna get started, with the different shapes that were given by this template. I want to also point out that this particular template, one of the few ones that I've seen that comes with its own menu. Okay, so you see right here the plan menu, and if I click there, one of the options that they put on this menu is they give me the option over here to convert the perimeter of this space to walls. Okay, and this is important because when I'm creating an office layout, let me just use it, convert to walls, and I just simply click OK right here. So now you see the walls going around my space. And I was saying this is important with an office layout because there may be some elements that you're going to have to put right here on these walls. Like if you're going to put a window, let me see if I have a window over here. I can just drag the window shape and then just drop it over here. And then you see how it is going to be placed right there in the with the it's going to blend with the walls of my office layout. Okay, so but once again, just showing you around the basic elements of a Visio drawing, right? So far we're looking at the different stencils, and as I move from one stencil to another, you see how easy they make it for you to just utilize the different shapes that were created for you, and then start creating your document. Now, with this particular template, you notice that I had one, two, three, four, five different stencils. Okay, depending on the template that you select, you're gonna see more, you're gonna see less stencils, but Microsoft figure out that the options, the shapes that they put on this stencil will be enough for you to create the type of document that you created, that you selected from the template. Okay. Of course, you have more shapes to add to this collection over here, and that's why you have this option over here that says more shapes, right? And then again, you can go there and browse different collections, right? And maybe some of the options that are not selected right now. If I go over here and I pick, see, there is more furniture. There is also cabinets over here. So maybe I need this cabinets collection. So once I click there, now this additional stencil is added over here to the shapes window. And then I can start using the shapes that I need for my document. All right. You could create your own shapes if you need to. You can even, if you have, you could design it, you can create it out of a picture. And so, yes, you could add your own additional shapes to these collections over here. All right. But as far as using the template, this is the idea. You pick the template and then you start adding shapes over there, creating your document. You can use all the options that you see right here from the different menus. And like I said, with this particular template, there is also one menu over here that is used only for that particular type of drawing. Once I close this document, this menu will go away from the ribbon. Okay, so let me just do that now. I'm gonna close this file. I'm gonna go and click on close. I want to save this. All right, and I get back to the opening window. So if I want to create a different type of document, I go back to File, I click on New, and then again, it's just a matter of me browsing the different categories of templates and then selecting the one that I'm going to use. All right. Later on, we're also going to create a flow chart. So let me show you what the basic flow chart template looks like. Let me just click there. Again, I always have to make the decision of the units that I want to use. So again, I'm going to go with US units and click on create. And then here it comes again. The document is right there for me to start creating now a flow chart. Now you notice that for this particular template, I only get 2 stencils over here. So again, this should be enough for me to create a flow chart. But once again, if I need to look for additional shapes, I can always go to the more shapes and then I can make my selection from there. All right. So far so good. Just remember, you guys have the chat available to you, and if you have any questions, you can put it on the chat, and I will be monitoring the chat as well. All right, so no questions. Let me just continue with this now with the flowchart exercise. Now, if it is that you're going to create a flowchart, right? Of course, the flowcharts are used to show the process that you have in place, for any the steps for any particular process that you have in place in your unit. So if you are creating a flow chart, any flow chart will always begin and end with this shape that I'm drawing and dropping right here. Okay, so that will be the start and also the end of your flow chart. So if I was creating one now, I will grab one for the beginning and another one right here for the end. Okay, so now let me just talk a little bit about how do you add text to shapes on your document. So if you need to add some text to this particular shape, let's say I want to say that this is the beginning. The flow chart that we're going to create today is used to illustrate the process of proposing a project. So let's say in our unit, whenever we want to propose a project, so first thing you have to do, of course, the member have to make a suggestion about the project. So I want to say that this is the first step. So I'm going to write right here on this shape, a team member, suggest a project. Okay. And what I want you to notice over here is that I didn't have to add a text box. I just simply selected the shape and then I started typing. And you also notice that as I started typing over here, then Visio just zoom into the shape that I have selected so I can read my typing. Once I'm finished with my typing, what I need to do here is just simply press the escape key. I don't have to hit the enter key. That's a common mistake that we usually do when we start working with Visio, because you see pressing the enter key in there is just going to create an extra line. So you don't have to press the enter key, but rather just press the escape key. And by doing so, then you're just finished with the text. Now, next tool that I'm going to show you in here is when you need to zoom in to any part of your document. One shortcut that you can use is to hold the Control and Shift key down. As I'm going to do now, I'm going to hold the Control and Shift keys on the keyboard, and then I will just do left clicks. And as I do so, then I can zoom in that particular portion of the document that I'm clicking on. I'm doing a left click. If I'm doing a right click when I'm still holding the Control and the Shift keys, then I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to zoom out of that particular location of the document. All right. Now, if you're using a Windows computer, you're probably familiar now. If you have a Windows computer with a mouse with scrolling wheel, you just need to hold the Control key, and with the wheel on the mouse, you can scroll, and that will also let you zoom in and out of the document. Okay. You also have this zoom option right here at the bottom. Okay, so you can move this slider over here to zoom out or zoom into your document. Okay, but I rather like the scrolling or with the mouse or holding Control and Shift, because it will zoom right there on the portion of the document that I want to zoom in. So, little tools over there for you to know. There is another icon over here that I use a lot. So this one over here will give me a full page view of my document. Okay, especially when you're working with those elaborated document. You have a lot of information. At one point, you want to see the entire document, so you just click there, and you have one page view of your document. All right. So far so good. This is how we're gonna be doing in a few minutes. We're gonna be doing the flow chart. All right. Now, as far as the text over here, I like to say that when you start typing text on any selected shape. So let me just put here at the end, this is the end of the proposal process. Okay, now does the text always show in the center of the shape? Then the answer is no. Sometimes it shows outside the shape, at the top, at the bottom, left or right. It all depends on how the shape was originally created. So whomever designed or created this shape thought that the best ways to position the best place to position the text will be right there in the middle of the shape. Okay, but once again, the text will be placed wherever according to how the shape was created. Okay, now that doesn't mean that you don't have control over your text. If you wanted to change the location of the text, so let me just zoom in a little bit here. All right, just so you know, there is a tool over here, and right now I'm at the Home tab, and I'm going to be pointing over to the Tools group, and I want you to now become familiar with this tool over here, because this tool over here will let you interact with the text on your shape. Okay, I'm going to click there. All right, and once I click there, See, you see how the mouse have that little, like a text box, so that indicates that if I start moving this around, what I'm going to be moving is the text inside the shape and not the shape itself. All right, so let me just put it back there. You can also, oops, let me just make sure I grab it here. You can also rotate your text, okay, as I'm doing over here. Let me change the color of this text so I can see it outside the shape. Okay, so but once again, you can do this only when you are working with the text block that you see right here on the tools group. All right, let me undo. So my text will be back at the center of the shape. All right. So now every time you use one of these tools over here, always remember to go back to the pointer tool. Okay. So the mouse uses the function of just selecting your shape. Okay. So now that I went back to the pointer tool, you notice that if I use the rotation tool now, I rotate it not only the shape, but also the text inside the shape. Okay. So that's why I wanted to show you and describe the option over here with the text block, because that's how you're gonna get to control the text inside your shapes. All right. So let me go back to one page view over here. All right. And let me open another template so I can show you some other tools over here on this document. So let me just go back to the file menu. I'm going to close this document. I don't need to save it. Okay. And I'm going to open the last template over here. So let me go back to file and let me go back to new. And now instead of even looking at the categories over here, I'm just going to go straight to the template that I want to use, which is going to be the basic diagram now. So let me open the basic diagram. And again, you always make this selection over here about the units you want to use. And then let me click on create. All right. So again, every time I open a template, first thing that I look is at the different shapes that came with this particular template. All right. So once again, I just picked the basic shapes template. So of course, these are the shapes that Visio is making available for me with this document. So something that I want to show you over here, you notice that right here on the quick access toolbar, there is a series of icons that I placed over there. And the reason I put them over there is because these I used to use these icons on the previous versions of Visio before, before Microsoft started using the concept of the ribbon and the, the new tabs that we have right now. So somehow these options that you see over here, I know you will not be able to see inside these menus. Okay, so I wanted to describe at least one or two of them. And I also want to show you the process of putting these options available right here on the quick access toolbar. So what I like to do is I'm going to give me a copy of one of these shapes, the square. All right. And I'm going to make a copy of it. All right. So how do you make a copy of a shape? Of course, you can use copy and paste, Control C, Control V, but you can also use the shortcut Control D, D as in duplicate. And that's what I'm going to use right now. So I'm going to do Control D, say 3 times, okay, because I'm going to use 3 of these shapes. All right. So now that I made these 3 copies, what I like to do next is I'm going to select the last copy over here and I'm going to rotate it. So remember, you can rotate these shapes using the rotation tool that you see on top of the shape once you select the shape. So I'm rotating my shape like this, okay? But I want to rotate it with more precision. I want to know exactly how many degrees of my angle rotation I'm going to use now. So just so you know, when you start rotating your shape, if you look at the bottom here, you're going to see the angle rotation. All right. So I just rotated at -45 degrees. You can do that with the rotation tool here. Okay, but you also have a tool that I want to show you now. So I'm going to go over to the view menu. Okay, and then just so you know, there are some windows that you can enable over here from this section, from the so-called task pane. So I'm going to click there, and one of the windows that I want to show is the size and position. So let me activate the size and position. And what I like about this window is that right here I could specify the angle of rotation that I want for my shape. So let's say this one, it's okay at 45 degrees. Okay, so negative 45 or 45 really doesn't make a difference over here. But I'm gonna select the one behind, and this one I'm going to rotate it 22.5, and the one before I'm gonna do negative 22.5. Okay, gonna hit the enter key, so I have all of them rotated, and now I'm gonna select all of them like this. You notice that you can select just by dragging over with the mouse. Of course, you can also select by clicking and then holding the control key as you click on each one of the other shapes, but I find it easier if you just go over and make a selection like this. Now that I have all of them selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the home tab over here, and I'm going to use two options I want to show you over here. On the right side by the arrange group, you have the alignment. So you have one option to align from left to right. That's the align center. And if I use it again, now I can align from top to bottom using the middle alignment. So when I click on the second option, you see how all these shapes come to the same center point. So right now, just by doing this, right, I just get a new shape over here that I can use on my documents. But I wanted to show you the functions that I added over here. So one of them is the subtract. The next one over here is the union. So let me show you what the union does over here. And you look at the description right there. If you use the union tool, you can create a shape from the perimeter of multiple overlapping shapes. So you see how all these shapes are overlapping each other over here, but the perimeter of them right here is what's going to be used to create a new shape if I just use the union tool. So let me just go there and hit the union tool. It's the one in here, and look at the shape that I just created. All right. So very useful, at least I find it useful, or tools, right? That they they are not under the menus, okay, but they are still available to you. So I just wanted to show you that. How do you put those tools right here on the quick access toolbar? So all you need to do is just click on the quick access toolbar and then go right there where it says more commands. Once you get there, you're going to have a collection. Let me just show you over here. On the left side, you can add any of these additional options over here. Any of these commands could be added to the quick access toolbar. Initially, you only see a list of popular commands. Once again, some of these commands may be already on the menus right here. Okay, you may find them under the menus. Some of them you may not see over there. Okay, so the ones that I added was the union was one of them. Union is not going to be listed here because it's not a popular command. So you have to switch over here to all commands. Okay, and then let me just click one of them. I'm going to press the letter U as in union, and right here, option number 3, you see union. Once you see it, then you can click on add. Of course, I already had it there, so if I try to add it again, they will say I already have it on the quick access toolbar. But if it wasn't there, let me just remove it, okay? And if I wanted to add it right there, I could just click on add, and now I have the union option right there on the quick access toolbar. So of course, you're gonna have access to this video on our SharePoint site. So you can go there and look for these additional icons, add them to your quick access toolbar, and then give them a try. So I'm just going to close over here. All right. I'm going to mention also the center drawing, which I find to be very useful. At any time, I can hit there, I can click this icon, and then whatever I'm drawing will appear right there on the middle of my document. Okay. Again, it's not a command that you're going to find on the menu, so you may want to consider putting it there on the quick access toolbar. All right. So let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation. So we covered the shapes and the stencil. So let's talk a little bit about utilizing connectors on your Visio document. So let me get back here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this template and I'm going to open another one based on the flowchart template. So let me go back to new. And let me just pick the basic flowchart. The reason I'm using this one is because this is a type of document where you're going to be connecting your shapes. Okay. So when it comes to connecting your shapes, so let's say you're working right here on a process, right? And the next shape that you're going to connect to it will be a decision maker, right? So you want these two shapes to be connected. Now, how is it that you made the connection between two shapes? There are different ways to do that. So there is one type of connection that we call the shape to shape, and there is another connection that we call the point to point. So let me first demonstrate how is it that you make a shape to shape connection and what is the difference between the two of them. So let me go back to Visio. All right, let me take this out of here. So an easy way to make a shape to shape connection. Once you are working with a shape, okay, if this shape if this shape shows these arrows over here at the top, bottom, left, and right, that means that you can use those to easily make a connection to another shape. Now, when I put the mouse right there on either one of these arrows, then you're going to see a preview of 4 different shapes that you can select from. So let's say that I'm going to connect this. This is a process, and I'm going to connect it to a decision shape over here. So I go over to the decision and I click, and my shapes are automatically connected. Okay, so as long as you're using those blue arrows over here to make a connection to the next available shape, your shapes are going to be connected, and they are connected on what they call a shape to shape type of connection. Okay, and what the shape to shape connection does is if you need to move this shape to another location, so now let's say you put it on the side, you see how Visio is going to redo your connection. Okay, so the shapes will always be connected by the connection points that are closer to each other. Okay, so you started with the shapes like this. You connect it from the bottom of the first shape to the top of the next one. But once you move it, then now they are connected from the sides. Why? Because that's how close those because these two connection points over here are closer than the original ones, and that's fine. Sometimes you need to have the shape to shape connection, but there will be documents where you need to use a point to point connection. So that means that your shapes will be connected always from the original connection points. All right. Now, how do you create a shape to shape connection? So let me just take this back over here. I'm going to delete it. All right. And now I'm going to get another copy of it, but now I'm not gonna use the blue arrows over here. I'm just gonna drop it right there. Okay. And then I will make the connection. How will I make the connection now? Well, one way I have is by going over here to the tools group and clicking on the connector tool. So if I select the connector tool, all right, see how my mouse turns into that little connector there. I can go to the connection point on one shape, and I can click and drag down and then grab the other connection tool. All right. And even though, they look similar to what I did before, but the connection that I make now is a different type. So now I did a point-to-point connection. And what that means, let me just go back to the pointer tool, is that when I move my shape around like this, okay, Visio will redo the connection, but it will always use the original connection points, right? So these two shapes will always be connected from the bottom of one shape to the top of the next one. Doesn't matter what I move it to, all right? So I can take it to the left, I can take it up, and I can move it to the bottom. They will always be connected from the same connecting points. All right. So that's basically the difference between the shape to shape and the and what was the other one? The shape to shape and the point to point connections that you can make with any Visio document. All right. So let me go back over here because there is another way to make connections. Let me just delete here. All right, let me bring another copy of the decision. Now, instead of using the connector tool over here, you can also get, if I go to more shapes over here, and if I go to the Visio extras, there is one particular stencil over here just for connectors. So if I go there and I click on connectors, look at all the shapes over here that I get out of this stencil. All right, so any one that I grab over here will allow me to connect these two shapes. And if I use this connector over here, again, I'm going to be making a point to point instead of a shape to shape connection. All right, so that was the let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation. So that was the point to point and utilizing connectors topic over here. So let me move forward. Any questions? Let me just look on the chat. Anybody have any questions? Everything is clear. All right, looking good so far. All right, so let me move on to the next topic over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a basic diagram. I'm going to use the flowchart template that I've been describing. So let me go back to Visio. Okay, and I could actually use this document over here because they have the template with all the different shapes that I'm going to use. So let me just do a Control A, delete right here. All right, and let me go back to the basic shapes. All right, so from here, as I said before, every time you're creating a flowchart, you're going to start with the start end shape that I'm going to place right there, and then I'm going to make a copy of it, Control D as in duplicate, and I'm going to move the copy all the way down there. All right, so that will be the beginning and the end of my flow chart. And once again, I'm going to use this to describe the process of suggesting a project on my unit. So step number one will be that a team member suggests a project. All right, and once the team member does this, then the team gets together and they have a meeting and they discuss the idea. All right. So that process is going to be illustrated, or that step is going to be illustrated with a process. So process is what I need to add over here. So what I'm going to do is, as I showed you before, I click on the one of the arrows over here and I get these four choices to select from. All right. Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think that these are the four choices that get displayed on the preview window? Okay, why these four? The process, the decision, the sub process, and the document. And you notice that there are like 14 of them in there, right? So why are these four the chosen one? Okay, why not, let's say, the on-page reference or the off-page reference? Why do they give me only those four? Okay, what do you guys think of that? Why only these four? And If you want to give me an answer to that, you can put it on the chat. Why these four? And James is saying because these are the most common, and that makes sense. Although it's not the answer, but yeah, that's a good choice, James. Um, no, I'm gonna give you the answer. Okay, so the answer why these are the four they show over here is simply because these are the first four on the particular stencil that I'm using right now. Okay, so if I switch the order over here, which I could do, let's say I take the document down, and now the first four are the process, decision, sub-process, and data. You notice that when I go back here and I look at my four choices right now, they reflect the first four right there on the stencil. Okay, so there's that's a good thing to know, I guess. But I was wondering that the first time that I was using that tool. So just want to share that with you. All right, so let's go over here. And now I'm going to click on the process, which is the next step right here. And let me just make these things over here bigger so you can see better. All right. So step number two, I said the team gets together and they discuss the idea in a meeting. All right, so they get together, they talk about the project that was suggested, and they had the meeting, and then after the meeting, they will make a decision, right? So that will be the next step over here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the four selected options over here. Instead of clicking on one of the options, I'm just going to go there and click on the arrow, okay? And by clicking on the arrow, one of the four uh, one of the four shapes will be automatically selected. Okay, and you notice over here, this is also interesting that it was the decision maker that got selected. Okay, and uh, and Ronnie was asking if you could change the order, and I guess you just saw me doing that, right? But here's another question. How is it that by clicking on the arrow, they automatically selected the decision and not the process or the sub-process of the document? Why was the decision the one that gets selected when I just click on the arrow? All right. What do you guys think of that question? Why is the decision the one that Visio select when I just simply go and click the arrow without making a selection? And let me read your answers in the chat if you have any answer to that. Okay, no one is taking this one. Or I'm not seeing the chat today. Let me see if I lost my chat here. All right, I guess I have no answer for that one. All right, but I'll give you the answer. So the answer for this one is because this is the shape. If you look at my stencil over here, this is the shape that was left selected. Okay, so whatever is selected over here, if I had selected the on page, let me just click on that one, and I go back here, see that the on page is not even part of the list, but if I just go and click on the arrow, that's going to be the one that is the shape that is going to be added simply because that's the one that was left selected on the stencil. All right. So again, just wanted to share that with you. All right. So moving forward over here, now what's happening after the meeting is the participants will decide if, let's see, decide if this is a good idea. Okay. Is it a good idea? And of course, there will be some answers to that question over here. So one of them could be no, it's not a good idea. And if that's the answer, then that will be the end of the process, right? Or they may say, yes, it is a good idea. Then they will have to develop the project, or they may say, "Wait, look, we don't have enough information, right? So why don't you do a little bit more research and they get back to us so we can discuss the idea in a meeting again." All right. So there will be three different outcomes over here, and all of them will be outlined by the process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make me a copy of the process, and I need two more of them. So I'll do Control P twice. Okay. And now I'm going to use one of those tools that I showed you before. So I'm going to go to Align, and I'm going to align then from top to bottom. Okay. So let me just pick the middle alignment. Okay. And these are tools that, will let you work a little bit faster when you're doing your own documents in Visio. So let me just separate this, right? And what I need to do now is I need to make the space in between the same. So there's another tool over here under position, right? There's one option over here that says distribute the space horizontally. So if I pick this option here, now you see the space in between is exactly the same. Now, if I had ended up like off alignment with the previous shape, okay, another option I could use over here is to have all these shape grouped into one object. So I can do that with this group option over here. Let me just go up to group, click on group. And once I group all the selected shapes, now all these shapes will be treated as one object. So that means every time I click one of them, the three of them will be selected. Okay, and the reason I wanted to do this is because it will facilitate now aligning the previous shape with the three ones that I just added. So now, rather than doing the selection with the mouse, I click on this shape, hold the control key down, click on the next one, and then I go back to my tools over here and do the alignment from left to right. Okay, so I'll use the center alignment, and then you can see how perfectly all these shapes um, are centered right now. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to connect. I want to put three connectors over here to connect all these shapes. So let me go back to the. I already have the connector stencil over here. All right, so I'm gonna grab the. Let me try the dynamic connector, and I'm gonna take one end. I put it right here, and I'm gonna take the other end over to this shape. Okay, so that's a good way to make connectors. This one is kind of like a little bit boring. Let me just pick a better one. Delete this one. Let me bring the line and arc connector. Yep, this one looks better. So I'm going to take one end, put it right here. Take the other end, put it right there. Okay, and maybe I'll use the same one for the other side. So let me go here and there. So once again, these are the three different outcomes that will come after the participant decide whether this is a good idea or not. So let me just illustrate how you can also add text to these connectors. Again, it's just a matter of selecting the connector, and then you can say, this is not a good idea. Or if I have connected these two over here, I could also say, for this one, this is a good idea. So I say yes. And for the other one, I will say that more information is needed. So not enough info. Okay. So if that is the case, that there is not enough information, then the member have to do more research, right? And then after he does more research, then the process will come back to right here where the team discusses the idea in a meeting. So this may be a good occasion to use the dynamic connector. I use the end right here, and I use the one with the arrow pointing to these steps, just to indicate that over here the process flows back to this process over here. All right, so that's kind of like the the idea. How do you work about using these tools to create this type of diagram, this type of document. So I'm gonna make the final product, the end product available on the SharePoint site so you guys can see it from there. So let me just end up saying over here that sometimes you need to do, you know, some formattings on some of your shapes. So let's say you want a different fill over here for this shape. You probably want a different color for the font. Okay. And let's say that you want to copy the same formatting to another shape on your document. Okay. So rather than, you know, redoing the formatting, you just simply go and use the format painter. You're probably familiar with this because, you know, every Office application has it. But you just select the shape, copy the painter of that shape, and then go over to the shape that you wanna apply the same formatting to, and then just click in it. And oh, I just remember that I have this grouped. Okay, so but this is interesting. So you guys also check this. When you have a group and you're trying to copy the formatting, if I click on one of the shapes, then all the shapes in the group will get the same formatting. Okay, so what I should rather do over here, if I want the shape to apply only to that particular shape, then what I do, let me just undo over here. Before I copy the formatting, I'm going to ungroup these shapes. I don't need to have them grouped because I already used them to or position them where I wanted to. So I'm gonna go over here to the same group option, and now I'm going to ungroup them. All right, so now that they are ungrouped, I can take this shape, copy the format, go over there, and then paste it, and it will affect only one shape. Uh, how do we make this a 3D? Well, one option you have, TJ, is to use some of the styles over here. Okay, so it give you sort of like a 3D effect, or you can rather go with the effect over here, the bevel. That usually looks a little 3D-ish, kind of. So I guess that would be my best choice over there to make it look sort of like a three dimensional. All right, excellent. All right, so let me close this document and let me check on my PowerPoint presentation. We're going to end up with the office layout. So still have a few minutes to work on this one. So for this one, I'm going to go back to my templates over here and just simply going to pick the office layout. Again, I'm going to use the US units. Okay. And as I showed you before, for an office layout, I'm going to start with the office space. Okay. And then again, apps, can you do the stuff you did, or do you need to request the full apps? Can you do the stuff you did? I didn't get that question. Can you do the stuff you did, or do you need to request the full application? Oh, if you're okay, I'm sorry. If you're able to access Visio online through my apps, can you do the stuff you did, or do you need to request the full app? If you see it on your apps, most likely you have a license for it, James. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. That came. I'll get back to you with that question, James. All right. So let's get here with the office layout. All right. So with the office layout, once again, we're gonna start with the space. Okay. And as I said before, if you use the size and position, right, that's a window. That's a window that I like to use to control the dimensions of my shapes, right? So they gave me started with a 10 by 10, but let's say that this is 20 by 10. I can just type the numbers in here, or even better, let's make it 10 by 15. Okay, so it covers more of the space. The office layout that I'm planning to do over here is just going to be for illustration. So I'm not so concerned about the dimensions. I can just uh, drag over here with the mouse, resize it. But notice that as I do the resizing with the mouse, right, this will reflect right here on the size and position, of course, as well, right? All right, so So we just get started with the space, but remember I show you there is a menu over here out of this template, the plan menu, and I'm going to go there to convert my perimeters to walls. So once I do that, now I have the walls that go around, and it will make it easier for me to start putting items such as I want to put a door right here. That's going to be the entrance to my office. So let me look over here for doors. I'm going to get the door and I'm going to place it right here. And you see how it is going to stick right there in the walls. I can resize it, of course. Okay. Another option that I can have over here is whether I want to indicate whether that door opens to the inside or to the outside. So I can do it just by dragging over here. You see how easy, right? But some of these shapes, that's why I was saying earlier, depending on the shape you're using, you're gonna get different options, right? This particular one, if I do a right click in it, well, I gotta make sure that I'm on the door over here. When I do the right click, look at the first two options at the top, right? So what I was doing right here with this tool, I could have done it with this option that lets me indicate whether the doors open to the in or the outside, okay? So you notice also there was another option over here. Let me just put it back, opening to the inside. But look at the other option over here. Oops. Again, I gotta make sure that I'm clicking on the shape. Look at this one over here. Okay, you can also reverse the left to right opening, and look at this, how easy it is, right? So sometimes it's just finding the appropriate shape that you need for your document. But let me do some more over here. So let's say right in the middle of this office, okay, I'm gonna have not necessarily a wall, but just a panel that runs across the office. So panels, I saw it earlier on the cubicle section over here. So let me grab this panel, all right, and then you see how simple I can just go left, I can go right, and that's the panel that divides my office right here, right? And if I need to, let me go back to the doors and windows. If I need to indicate that there is space in between, you have this opening tool. You can just stick right there. All right, oops, gotta make sure, okay. I can resize it and just notice that this is the opening that I have right there in the middle of the office, right? When it comes to furniture over here, you can just go to office furniture. I'm gonna show you one of my favorite shapes over here, the multi-chair round table, right? What I like about this shape is you see how initially it opens with it shows 6 chairs over here, but as you start resizing it, then it goes down to 5, go down to 4, and all the way down to only 3 chairs within that with that table, right? So very advanced shape that they have developed for you to use, right? As far as putting, I gotta put my desk and a computer over here. I just found this cubicle stencil over here that lets me grab one of this. And I love this one because this comes with everything in it, right? It have the desk, it have the computer, the chair. The only problem with this one is when you start resizing it, it gets to a point where you cannot resize it anymore, right? So if you don't have enough space over here, it may not fit right where you need it to fit. And if that is the case, then you're gonna have to go and get each one of these pieces individually, right? So if I get the corner surface, that will be my desk. I will have to rotate it, okay? And then I will have to place it right here in the corner, all right? Let me just zoom in and I'll finish with 2 more over here. Let's say I need to grab, let me go back to the furniture over here. I need to grab my chair, okay? And see what happens when I get this chair over here. And I wanna place it, of course, under the desk, right? But initially, you're gonna see it like it shows over. And the reason is because every time you add a new shape, then every shape is going to go on its own layer. And those layers, of course, are going to be accumulating. So this is the last one that I added. So that is set to be at the top layer. What I need to do is I need to push it down one layer. And I can easily do that by doing a right click right here. And then once I do the right click, I get this menu, and one of the options over here allow me to control the position of the layer for that particular shape. So look at the option that says send backward. If I use that option, then it's going to go under the layer of the desk, and then it's going to fit perfectly right there on my desk. Okay. The last thing that I want to say over here is when I'm positioning these items, okay, sometimes you may not get it in the right position with where you wanted it to be, but as you zoom in, you're gonna have more control of the position of the shape. Right now, I'm moving then with the arrow keys instead of the mouse, and that allows me to even get more precision as I place the shapes right there on my document. All right, so oops, that's 201, 202. I'm sorry. It's taking, I think you're more of the 1 hour that we have allowed for this class. Okay, but once again, I'm gonna make this document available to you on Transit U, so you can finish. You can do it on your own, and of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. So let me get back to my PowerPoint presentation. Make sure I cover all the topics. I'm going to put the presentation also in the SharePoint site so you can go there and get additional information with these links that I put over here. If you require additional computer training, you can get in touch with my boss, Lisa or Ariel. And if you need, if you need training just for your unit, you have small amount of people you want us to train, we can also customize train for you.